Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. This is the first podcast for counsellors that just don't align with the traditional approaches to business and that want to use their spiritual gifts, talents, and interests to create, you guessed it, a private practice with soul. So, look, leave it to me to provide you with everything you need, including strategies that you can use to increase your income, reduce your workload, and of course, increase inquiries and referrals to your beautiful soul-led private practice. I love it so much. If you haven't done it already, grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's begin. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode. I hope that you all had a fantastic weekend. Gabe and I certainly did. He is snuggled down beside my feet as I speak, which is lovely because it's so cold here in Melbourne at the moment. Anywho, let's get on with the show. So, what I'm going to do is talk with you about just my opinion only. It's only my professional opinion, and I appreciate you have yours. But I would love to hear it. And I would love to hear what you have to say, because to me, this is something that's really so important. What happened was today, so yesterday for you when you hear this, I shared a post in the Counsellors Connect Australia group, and it seems to have caused, as I expected it would, quite a bit of heated discussion, as again I expected that it would, because I knew it was going to be something that maybe not everybody wanted to hear. Now, it really only affects the minority of counsellors. I like to believe that on the whole, counsellors don't do this, but I'm also aware as a supervisor and as a private practice mentor and also as a private practice coach that this is happening in our profession. And for me, it's not sitting well and it's not sitting right. And I chose yesterday or today to air that. So here's what it is. Okay, I'm just going to say it. So basically, what I'm aware of is some counsellors accepting referrals that clients bring to them that have GP mental health care plans attached to them and that have referral letters made out to Dear Psychologist. Now, what's happening is the counsellors are saying to the clients, listen, I'm not on Medicare, so I can't use the mental health care plan, which means you can't get a rebate. But then they're doing things that are, I feel, perhaps not entirely above board. Like, for example, saying to the client, but you know what, I'm going to price match whatever the psychologist was going to charge you out of pocket. Things like that. Now, you and I both know that every psychologist charges something different, and there are different levels of rebates within, psychology and Medicare and all that sort of stuff. So how these counsellors are coming up with, whatever the gap is, I don't know. But anyway, they're saying to clients, I will charge you the same, and you can see me. Now, the problem with that is, well, there's a number of problems with that. First off, we've got the issue of the doctor and the doctor's intention. So for somebody to be given a mental health care plan, the doctor needs to have on record or make themselves before they, create that GP mental health care plan referral, a diagnosis. There needs to be an existing diagnosis on file before that referral can be made. So the doctor then says, okay, Brooklyn, you have a mental health condition, it's called anxiety. And what I want to do is I'm going to send you to the psychologist, down the road there. They are fantastic. This is what they do. Here's the referral. Now, let's say that doctor has made the decision to send that client to a psychologist. They have done that for a reason. Okay, I'm sure that doctor is aware that they have the ability and the scope to refer to a counsellor, but they've chosen in this situation to send their patient to a psychologist because they have determined that client, that patient of theirs, requires services only a psychologist can provide. Okay, so I'm not talking about mental health social workers and OTs and things like that. I'm talking about psychologists and counsellors. So anyway, first off, we've got this to consider, haven't we? The doctor has made a decision, an educated decision in their mind to send this person to a psychologist. Now, that's the first thing to consider. The next thing to consider is, why hasn't the client gone to that psychologist? Now, a lot of the time what I'm hearing is that, oh, well, they can't get in to see the psychologist, and I live in a rural area and blah, blah, blah. And so there are all these reasons why the client ends up at a counsellor. And, so then the counsellor will say, oh, well, isn't it better that I see them, because I can see them right now and I can help them, and I'm qualified. Like, I've done mental health training and I have a mental health qualification. The thing is, sure, you have availability, and yes, you have some degree of training, but you don't have the same type of training that a psychologist does. So it doesn't make any sense to me that you would say to a client who's been referred, over there to the butcher, that you would say, well, look, I'm not a butcher. I sell fruit and vegetables. I won't charge you what the butcher charges you, but I will match the butcher's fee on sausages for you. So come and get some fruit and vegetables. It doesn't work like that. They're not the same service. And so when you talk to a client and it's perhaps interpreted by the client as coercive, when you're like doing things like, oh, I'll price match, and, please see me, I'll price match, and I can see you now, and blow the psychologists over there, they can't see you for months, and surely the right thing to do is to help you now. No, it's not, because the intention of that referral from the referring doctor was for that client to get a service that you do not provide. So it doesn't matter. The fact that you have availability doesn't matter. The fact that you've got a diploma in, mental health practitioner training or whatever it is, doesn't matter. What matters is this doctor wants their patient seen by a psychologist. Okay. So no, it's not ethical for you to coerce a client, say, look, I will match whatever the psychologist was going to charge you, because you don't do what the psychologist does. They're not going to get the same service from you as a counsellor that they will from a psychologist. And I'm not saying anything about your service not being a good service. I'm sure it is a fantastic service, but the reality is it's not the service they were referred for. Okay? I feel like there are other ways that you can go about this that are perhaps more ethical. And by that, what I would suggest is, if a client comes to you and they've got a referral from the doctor, they can't get in to see the psychologist, but they've found you, I feel like, you should have a look at that referral and see whether or not it's within your scope of competence to provide treatment. I mean, Medicare's about treatment. Anyway, to provide the counselling or the therapy or whatever it is that the client's going to need. If that's in your scope of expertise and you've got the training and you've got the knowledge and all of that sort of stuff, what's the problem with you saying to the client, listen, hey, you know what? I'm not a psychologist. I can't organise Medicare rebates for you, so I can't really help you under this referral. However, I noticed that you have depression. I happen to have a lot of experience supporting people with depression, get some really good outcomes. Would it be all right with you if I call your doctor and maybe we have a chat with the doctor and see, if that would be okay, because really it's the doctor that's made the referral. So we need to keep that doctor informed about what's happening. And if the client agrees and they're happy for you to call a doctor, give the doctor a call. Say, hey, Dr. Smith, my name's Brooklyn. I have a lady here with me. She's got a GP mental health care plan made out to psychologist, Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown doesn't have availability, but I do. I'm not a psychologist and I can't see your patient under Medicare. However, I've got loads of experience and training and qualifications in working with depression, and I'll be absolutely more than happy to see her. I just wanted to, touch base with you and, see what your thoughts are. What would you like to do? Because it's the doctor's referral. It's not your referral. It's the doctor's referral. The doctor made it. The doctor intends for it to go somewhere. So then if the doctor says, do you know what? It sounds fine by me. I just want her seen, but, keep me in the loop, then of course, amazing, fantastic. Thank the doctor for their time. Let the client know, yes, the doctor's happy, blah, 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 and go ahead with your normal booking in process. But if the doctor says, do you know what, I really feel like, my patient needs to see, I really feel more comfortable with my patient seeing a psychologist, but thanks for letting me know. Okay, no problem. That's an opportunity for you to build a relationship with that doctor and say, okay, no problem. Totally understand where you're coming from there. I know of 2 really great psychologists in the area. There's this one over here and there's that one over there. And here are their phone numbers. Is there anything else that I can do to, facilitate this or help this along for you? That's all you have to do. And then the doctor's going to remember you for being somebody that was helpful, somebody that was transparent, somebody that was honest. And you never know what might come your way. You might just get that next referral from that doctor because of how you've behaved this time. But how's it going to be if the opposite happens and the doctor gives a psychologist referral to the client ends up at a counsellor's clinic, at your clinic, and, or at your practice rather, and you say, do you know what, I'll see you and I'll price match whatever the psychologist was going to charge you, and, you'll have a better time with me than with the psychologist and I can get just as good outcomes. And you say things like that, and then you see the client, and then the client goes back to see their doctor, and the doctor says, I haven't heard anything from your psychologist yet. And the client says, oh, well, I see, Tony down the road. Yeah. And the doctor's going to say, but I sent you to Brooklyn. The psychologist Brooklyn. Like, who's Tony? And then what's going to happen? You're not going to get any more referrals, and the doctor's going to tell everybody not to send work your way. So don't do it. The other thing that comes up for me is some counsellors say, oh, well, you shouldn't call it unethical, Brooklyn, because at least we're available and we can help. So we're doing the right thing by helping clients when the psychologists and the mental health accredited social workers can't, And I think, no, you're not, because the thing is that this client has a mental health condition. It's probably a complex one. Especially like depression isn't an easy thing to treat, Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I've just lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. And even with anxiety can be tricky to treat as well. So I question if you say to your client, hey, I'm not a psychologist, I'm a counsellor, I'll price match, I'll do this, I'll do that, let's book in with me. Do you know what? Clients might agree to see you, and then you're calling that informed consent. But here's the thing, the client's probably bamboozled, probably confused, they're probably wondering who you are, they're probably very nervous, especially if they've not been in the system before and they don't know how it works. They're looking to you to be the authority. And you could be potentially misleading them because they don't have informed consent. They've only got the information that you're providing them. So I disagree that, you're getting the client's consent. I think it's possible in some situations that you could, but I think most of the time, given that there's mental health conditions going on and given that it's the first time they've spoken to you or seen you, I think they're vulnerable. And I think we have to be very, 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 very careful about supporting vulnerable members of our community. And I don't believe that appropriating referrals that were meant for other professionals is a way of supporting vulnerable people in our community. The way to do it, always ring the referrer. explain what's happened to the referrer, explain what your background is, explain that you have capacity, that you're willing and able to see them, and ask the referrer what they would like you to do. Because as I said, this is not your referral, nor is it the client's. This is the doctor's referral. The doctor owns that referral, and it's up to them who they want that client to see. And always, because they're the expert in the client's health, okay? A lot of the time, clients we work with, we want to empower them, we want to give them all the education and all the information, but a lot of the time when we're working with certain conditions or certain presentations, we can bump into clients that have limited insight, that don't understand how things go. And especially if we're talking about clients who have trauma backgrounds and things like that, who can be, falling into traps of going along with whatever they believe the authority figure's saying to them, and they're going to see you as the authority figure. And that, to me, this is not ethical behavior at all. It's a practice that seems to be happening, this practice of appropriating, referrals that were meant for other professionals, for other services. Because as I said before, counselling is a different service to psychology. Appropriating those referrals for different services, I don't understand how that could be seen as ethical. And it really actually worries me a lot to see some counsellors argue for appropriation of referrals that were meant for other services and argue that that's ethical. So I don't know, what, it's just my opinion. I've been on both sides of the fence with psychology and with counselling. I've got fantastic networks of GPs that, I work with even today. I know the conversations, I've been around them for 20 years. I know how it goes, and I want the best for the clients. Like, this to me is so important. I'm worried for the health and the well-being of the clients if they're not getting the service that they need. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, before you work with a client who is destined for a different service to yours, please ring the doctor. Please let the doctor know what's happened. Please let the doctor know you've got the client with you, what your experience and expertise is, that you can help them, that you have availability. Let them know all of that. And you know what? This is an opportunity for you to build a referral pathway with that doctor. And I would much prefer all of us be really transparent, not only in our dealings with each other, but in our dealings with clients and in our dealings with professionals. Counsellors like ACA and PACFA are working really, really hard for a subgroup of counsellors that want to be on Medicare, right? That they're advocating really hard for this small group of counsellors that really want to be on Medicare. You're making their job 10 times harder when there's unethical behaviour going on, because it impacts the reputation of the profession when other professionals become aware that you're doing this. So to help each other and to help raise up the profile of the profession, I would encourage you to stop doing this if it's something you've been doing. And do you know what? If you have been doing it, I was going to say that's okay. It's not okay. But if you have been doing it, I'm going to imagine it's because you fell under a belief that this was okay and that this was a right thing to do. You didn't know differently, but now you do. And now you have that awareness. And I want you to be really, 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 really mindful next time you get an inquiry from someone that's got a GP mental health care plan, about the next steps that you take, because we have a duty of care, first and foremost, to the client, second of all to the referrer, third of all to the profession. Okay? So do have a think about it. Doctors are not your only source of referral. They do tend to refer to psychologists, and there's a very good reason for that, and there's a very big reason for that, and Medicare is part of it. But anyway, for now, I would encourage us as professionals to behave like professionals and to work with each other and support each other in raising up the profile of the profession. And part of that is going to be through the application of professional behavior and ethical behavior. So, yeah. I hope this helps to clarify things, especially for students and especially for new grads who may be new to counselling and not know any differently, and maybe have heard or seen on the grapevine that this is an okay thing to do. I just want to raise your awareness. No, it's not. And it's definitely something to take to supervision for discussion if you have a situation arise in your practice where somebody does come along with a plan and you're not sure what to do. In fact, it might also be a good idea for you to make a note today about taking this particular topic to supervision and unpacking it with your supervisor in a safe space where you're not going to be judged, but where you can get the guidance and support from somebody that's trained in, this and in managing, it's not really a dilemma. You just don't do it, but some people might feel like it's a bit of a dilemma. But anyway, take it to supervision, get the right advice, get the right guidance. Don't listen to all the people in the groups, because you'll get overwhelmed. And, some people are going to agree with you, some are going to disagree with you, and you'll get confused. Stick with one source and make that source someone that you trust, i.e. your supervisor. If you don't have one, absolutely get one. You should all have one. Yep. And if you need a supervisor, reach out in the Counsellors Connect Australia group or in the Australian Counsellors in Private Practice online group, because there are qualified trained supervisors in there for counsellors that do have capacity, that do have availability, and that can support you on this very topic. Okay. So this episode was designed, created, the intention of this episode was to raise awareness around a practice that's going on in our community that I personally don't feel comfortable with. I personally would like to see it end. It doesn't make sense to me that one profession is appropriating referrals that were intended for a different service. But anyway, I've already said that, so I'm not going to belabor the point. Anyway, hope this was helpful. I hope it gets you thinking. I hope it gets those of you who have been working with clients who have mental health care plans thinking about, does this client even have the capacity to provide informed consent to work with you over what their doctor has said? Anyway, yeah, just an awareness raising podcast. So I hope it helps. And if you have any questions, which I'm sure you will, please jump in the groups and let me know, or send me a message on Instagram at The Private Practice Coach, or on Facebook Messenger, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the podcast. Have a great day. Bye. I hope that you loved this episode as much as I loved putting it together for you. To get more resources to help you in your private practice, head over to Instagram. My handle is at The Private Practice Coach. And also, if you want more inquiries and referrals for your business, let me know. I have a program called Clients on Demand that opens every quarter, and I can absolutely get you some information for that as well. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you for sharing your gifts with the world. Bye.